I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you are looking at this massive, incredibly complex puzzle.
Okay.
And for thousands of years, some of the greatest minds in human history, Jesus Christ, Buddha Sakyamuni, Lao Tzu, Prophet Muhammad, they've all been holding up different pieces of this exact same puzzle.
Right, like showing us different corners of the same
Thank you.
grand picture.
Exactly. So what if there was a unified cosmic blueprint that synthesized all of those teachings into like a single comprehensive theory of everything?
I mean, it is a massive premise, and it really requires us to step back and look at the absolute largest possible picture of existence. But then, almost immediately, we have to zoom all the way back in to the mundane, everyday actions of how we live our lives.
Yeah, the macro and the micro. And the source material we are diving into today is this highly specific, utterly fascinating text. It's dated June 9th, 2010.
Oh, wow, so pretty recent.
Very recent. It was written by an author named XueFeng, and it details a philosophy called the 8 Meanings of the Way of the Greatest Creator. And this actually serves as the foundational text for a group known as Lifechanyuan.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore this roadmap to what the author calls the Tao of Nature. We're going to try to distill these massive, almost, overwhelmingly large cosmic concepts into practical insights.
Yeah.
Insights about reality, personal accountability, and honestly, the true underlying purpose of life according to this framework. We really want to understand not just what this blueprint is, but how it supposedly dictates every single action you take.
Okay, let's unpack this because we have a lot to cover.
Yeah.
And before we can understand how to live according to this text, we first have to establish exactly where and how we are living.
Right, the ground rules.
Yeah. The text tackles the origin of the universe right out of the gate, starting with a concept called Wuji.
Ah, yes, Wuji. The author actually describes the initial state of the universe as this complete void and chaos. It was boundless, formless, completely without spirit or soul.
Just empty.
Yeah, empty. There was nothing but the random, unorganized movement of invisible energy. But here is the critical sequence that the text lays out. Through that random movement, the energy accidentally aligned into a sequence.
Okay.
And that sequence formed a structure. And in this particular philosophical framework, structure inevitably generates consciousness.
It is such an interesting progression, right? It's not that a mind just existed out of nowhere. It's that energy moved, formed a physical structure, and that structure, like, woke up.
Yes, exactly.
And that original cosmic consciousness is what the text identifies as the greatest creator. It even links it to the different names used by various religions, Allah, the ancestor of Buddha, the creator.
And the scope of what happens after that awakening is staggering. I mean, once this consciousness wakes up, chaos turns to order, yin and yang form. But it does not just stop at our universe.
Oh, not at all.
The text specifically claims this consciousness led to the formation of 20 parallel worlds and 36-dimensional space. It even completely redefines our entire concept of time.
Yeah, the time thing blew my mind a little bit.
Because in this framework, time is not some fundamental dimension of the universe. It's described simply as the result of material movement.
Right. Time only exists because stuff started moving around. So we have this massive 36-dimensional space, and then the text lays out a very specific order of creation.
First batch of life, right?
Yeah, it says the creator made a first batch of life, gods, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Then came a second batch of life, which were angels or super celestial beings. And then the creator handed those gods and angels a blueprint.
Like an actual literal design schematic.
Exactly. And those beings were tasked with creating everything else based on that exact blueprint, down to the smallest detail.
Right.
The text is very clear that everything we see on Earth, not just humans or animals, but a single blade of grass or bacterial microorganisms, they were all created using this blueprint. But wait, I have to push back here, because the text says there is no such thing as natural birth. It claims that what we perceive as biology or natural formation is actually just the operation of the reproduction program of life.
With life in all caps.
Right.
Yeah.
That completely throws out evolution and biology as we know it. I mean, is the text seriously suggesting that humans and bacteria are basically just 3D printed from some cosmic server?
What's fascinating here is that it completely rejects the idea of random biological evolution or spontaneous natural generation. Yes.
Wow.
And the reason why it rejects evolution is central to the entire philosophy. Think about it. Evolution relies on random mutation.
Sure.
But remember how the universe started? It started as random chaos, and the creator woke up to established order. If the universe relies on random biological evolution, that implies the creator just allows chaos to persist. So in this framework, everything must be intentional.
So it's like we look at a forest in a video game and we think, wow, look how naturally those trees grew. But it's actually just a hard-coded reproduction script running silently in the background. The game engine is just spawning trees according to the code.
Exactly. That is a perfect analogy. It reframes mundane biology into an intentional cosmic software program. When you see a plant grow from a seed, you aren't seeing nature taking its course.
You're just watching code run.
You are watching a line of cosmic code execute its specific function. The entire physical world is a programmed system.
Okay, so if we accept this premise that our biology is just an automated software script, what server is running that script? Who is pushing the updates? Because a system that complex doesn't just run itself.
Right. The text calls this operating system the Tao. It asserts that everything runs in the consciousness of the Tao. This is what controls the macro-level events, the sunrise, the sunset, the ebb and flow of the tides, the changing of the seasons.
But it doesn't stop at the macro, which is the wild part. The text points to our own biology as the specific proof of this control.
Yeah, use the human life cycle.
Exactly. Uses the human life cycle as its primary evidence. It talks about how a fertilized ovum develops perfectly in the womb. For 9 months, it automatically forms eyes, a nose, hair, hands, and feet. And then there is this fully automated sequence after birth.
Infancy, childhood, youth, adulthood, old age, deterioration, and death.
Right. And the text asks, who arranges and controls this? And it just answers, the toe.
Because to the author, the predictability of that sequence, the sheer mechanical reliability of it across billions of human lives, is proof that it cannot be an accident. It has to be a managed process.
But the text uses a very specific comparison to explain this management that I want to explore. It compares the Tao to human constitutions, laws, and regulations.
Yeah.
It says that just as a city devolves into chaos without a mayor and city council writing traffic laws, the universe requires the creator behind the scenes operating the Tao to prevent cosmic traffic jams.
That is the logical step the text takes to justify the Tao's existence. If you look at human laws, they don't just exist in a vacuum, right? Human laws reflect human consciousness.
Right, they show what we care about.
Exactly. They show what we value, what we fear, and how we want things organized. Therefore, the text argues the Tao is the exact same thing on a cosmic scale. The laws of nature, the laws of physics, the biological life cycles, they are the constitutions and regulations of the universe.
And they perfectly reflect the consciousness of the creator.
Precisely. We are essentially just moving inside a giant cosmic mind. Everything moving in the Tao is just everything moving within the creator's mind.
Okay, so if the Tao is the cosmic law and our biology is the cosmic code, what happens when we try to break the law? What happens when we try to be something we are not? Because the text gets incredibly strict and, honestly, highly deterministic here.
It introduces a very rigid form of biological determinism. The premise is that all things have a specific nature, and that nature is derived entirely from their physical structure.
Because the creator made the structure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the structure was designed by the creator, following your structure is following the creator's will.
The examples it gives start off pretty straightforward. Dogs guard yards, cats catch mice, roosters crow. If they do those things, the universe runs in an orderly way.
Right. They're doing what they were coded to do.
But then the text turns its focus to humans, and it issues some very sharp critiques against suppressing our innate nature. Specifically, it targets religious ascetic practices. It argues that Buddhist monks and nuns, as well as Christian priests and sisters, actually deviate from the way of the greatest creator.
It argues they are deviating because they are actively suppressing their structural nature. Human eyes are built to see, human ears are built to hear, and human sexual organs are built to procreate.
But I have to pause on that because to say someone choosing a life of celibacy or quiet contemplation is somehow insulting the universe, that's a massive claim. Why is unused structure considered a cosmic sin in this philosophy?
Because in this framework, your physical structure is the divine mandate. Many traditional spiritual paths view denying the physical body as a way to elevate the spirit, right?
Yeah, denying the flesh to feed the soul.
Exactly. But this text says the exact opposite. The creator handed down a blueprint, and you were built according to that blueprint. To intentionally leave your physical capabilities unused is basically rejecting the gift. Wasting potential is seen as rebelling against the creator's explicit intent.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. It doesn't just critique asceticism. It also fiercely critiques anyone trying to transcend their physical limits. It specifically calls out Chinese Taoist practices that pursue magic powers or supernatural abilities.
Oh yeah, it lists very specific forbidden practices. Working through the Duan meridians, trying to make plant seeds germinate in your hands, trying to open the third eye, or trying to force the primordial spirit to leave the body.
All the mystical stuff.
The text views all of this as totally unnatural.
It's fascinating how the author uses strict biological boundaries to make a spiritual point. They point to the physical limits of our eyes, which are only built to see chromatic images in wavelengths between 400 and 700 nanometers.
Right.
And they point to our ears, which are only meant to hear frequencies between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz. And the text essentially says, look, your hardware is capped here for a reason. That is enough.
Yeah, any attempt to push past those boundaries internally is not seen as enlightenment. It is seen as a glitch in the software.
But honestly, that feels incredibly rigid. Isn't human progress entirely about pushing past our limits? I mean, if we invent a microscope to see past those 700 nanometers, are we rebelling against the creator?
Well, the text seems to draw a line between using external tools to navigate the world and trying to fundamentally alter your internal biological operating system.
Oh, I see.
Trying to tune your internal hardware into a radio station it wasn't built to receive, like opening a third eye, is a misunderstanding of your own structure. You aren't achieving a higher state of consciousness. You're just a rooster trying to lay an egg. You are fundamentally misunderstanding what you were built for.
Wow, a rooster trying to lay an egg. And the text warns that if you deviate from your nature like that, you will face consequences. Which really transitions perfectly into how this framework views our daily relationship with the creator, and it gets surprisingly transactional.
Highly transactional.
Yeah, it frames revering the creator almost like a business deal. It says that revering the creator allows us to do what we desire without breaking the rules, and that it costs absolutely nothing. It literally calls it a deal with only gains but no losses.
It is Pascal's wager on steroids.
Yes.
A completely zero-risk investment. If you revere the creator, it brings you countless benefits and protects you from harm. If you don't, disaster might befall you. So logically, from a pure cost-benefit analysis, why wouldn't you take the deal?
It is so weird to read a spiritual text that sounds like a financial prospectus. Usually, religious devotion is framed around profound sacrifice or unconditional love or spiritual surrender. But this just strips away the mysticism and treats reverence as pure, calculated pragmatism.
Hedge your cosmic bets, because it's the smart play.
Exactly. Just hedge your bets.
It is deeply pragmatic.
Yeah.
But, you know, if the reverence part is easy, the accountability part is brutally hard.
Yeah.
Because the text establishes a system of radical, uncompromising personal accountability.
Oh, yeah, it goes hard on this.
It states that reality is simply a portrayal of our diverse free consciousness. It operates on the principle that like attracts like and identical frequencies resonate.
And it does not leave this as some abstract philosophical concept. It brings it right down to the most mundane aspects of daily life, and it leaves zero room for excuses.
None.
It says if you have loose bowels today, you must have eaten spoiled food. If you have a headache, you wore inappropriate clothing, or lacked sleep because you were overthinking. And if someone scolds you today, it's because you hurt them in the past.
There is absolutely no such thing as random bad luck in this system. Every situation, every pain, every misfortune tracing it back will always lead to your own false consciousness or your own actions.
I have to stop you there, though, because this sounds incredibly harsh. The idea that every single misfortune is entirely your fault, isn't that just cosmic victim blaming? What if someone is just having a terrible day through no fault of their own? What if they get sick or someone is cruel to them for literally no reason?
The text outright rejects the concept of no fault of your own. It argues that your reality is just a mirror of your free consciousness. You can't stand there, scowl at the cosmic mirror, and expect the reflection to smile back at you.
Right.
If the reflection is ugly, the mirror isn't broken. You're projecting the ugliness. The text explicitly says you have neither heaven nor earth nor society nor other people to blame.
Talk about a heavy psychological weight. You can't blame society, you can't blame the economy, and you certainly can't blame bad luck. If something seems wrong in your life, the universe isn't wrong. You are.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is an immense burden, yes. But the text actually frames this as ultimate empowerment.
How so?
Think about it. If everything is your fault, then everything is within your control to fix. You aren't a victim of circumstance. The text states that understanding this leads to a life that is as clear as crystal, while failing to understand it leaves you in a confused, chaotic state. You just have to take absolute ownership of your frequency.
Okay, so let's summarize the rules of this universe so far. We have strict biological lanes we have to stay in. We have transactional reverence, and we have this brutal mirror of absolute accountability where even a simple headache is a moral failure.
Right.
It sounds incredibly demanding, almost suffocating. So what does this all mean? Why would anyone want to live under this system? What is the actual end goal of all this structure?
That is the ultimate pivot in the text. Because after laying out all these rigid laws, it reveals the actual purpose of human existence. It asks rhetorically, did the Creator make people to suffer? To fight, cheat, scheme, and worry?
And the answer is no, right?
An absolute definitive no. The Creator created humans to lead happy, joyful, free, and blessed lives.
It points to the design of the world as proof of this intention. Blue skies, white clouds, cheerful birds, the blossoming of flowers. And it specifically mentions physical love. The text argues that all of these things were explicitly designed by the blueprint to please our minds and bodies.
Yeah, to bring us joy.
It says the Creator designed our organs and senses specifically so we could enjoy life.
It completely rejects the trope that life is suffering or that Earth is a testing ground of misery. In fact, it argues that all human activities, growing crops, engaging in labor, making money, starting businesses, they are not purposes in themselves. They are merely tools.
Right, you don't grow crops just for the sake of having crops. You do it to achieve a happy life. Money, status, identity, they are only valuable if they are facilitating joy and freedom. If they aren't, you're using the tools wrong.
Which culminates in the final and perhaps most profound shift in perspective in the entire text. After explaining the 36 dimensions, the cosmic code, and the radical accountability, it declares that life is ultimately just a game.
All is but a game.
Yes.
The universe is a joyful stage, and the purpose of all creation was for the Creator to play. But it comes with a very stark warning about how you are supposed to play it. It warns heavily against excessive attachment.
Right, don't get too caught up.
It says we shouldn't try to occupy or possess too much, because if you become too attached, you lose the true nature of life. You turn what is supposed to be a joyful comedy into a painful tragedy of fighting and hoarding.
Because if you take the game too seriously, you forget that it's a game. You forget that the stakes aren't actually real in the way you think they are.
It's exactly like playing Monopoly. You can sit there at the kitchen table and ruthlessly acquire all the railroads, build hotels on Boardwalk and Park Place, and hoard all the colorful paper money. You can stress yourself out trying to bankrupt your family member.
We've all been there.
Right. But at the end of the night, the board folds up, the pieces go back in the box, and you keep none of the properties. The only thing you actually keep is the experience of having played the game.
And that aligns perfectly with the final reality the text presents. It asks, what can you keep after death? In this entire complex framework of parallel worlds and biological blueprints, the text says the only thing that is truly real, the only thing you take with you when the game ends and the board folds up, is your consciousness.
Well, let's bring all of this together. We have just explored an incredibly intricate, sometimes contradictory framework. It envisions a universe that woke up as a 36-dimensional consciousness. It operates on a cosmic constitution called the Tao, which acts as a reproduction program pushing biological updates to us.
Yep.
We are held radically accountable for our own frequencies, to the point of blaming ourselves for a stomachache. But the ultimate objective of all of this strict cosmic law is simply for us to be happy and to enjoy life as a game without getting too attached to the plastic houses on the board.
And I think the most counterintuitive yet powerful insight from this text is the idea that staying in your lane is actually the path to liberation.
That's a great point.
We often think of limits like only being able to see between 400 and 700 nanometers or having a specific biological structure as restrictions we need to break through to find enlightenment. But this text suggests that ultimate freedom comes from fully accepting your innate structure. By stopping the exhausting struggle to be something you aren't, or to acquire things you can't keep, you free yourself to fully enjoy the game you were actually designed to play.
It is a completely different way to look at boundaries. But there is one piece of this puzzle that I keep turning over in my head, and it's what I want to leave you with today.
Let's hear it.
The text insists that natural birth doesn't exist. It claims that biology is just a reproduction program of life, a cosmic code executing its script flawlessly in the background. If we entertain that idea as true, it raises a fascinating, almost unsettling question about your own day-to-day existence. If our physical reality is just a software script running on the Tao's operating system, how much of your daily routine, your habits, your sudden urges, your emotional reactions is truly you making a choice with your free consciousness, and how much is just the cosmic program executing its code through you? Something to think about the next time you find yourself reacting on autopilot. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, and we will catch you next time.